Hello students, today we are starting with a very interesting series, that is UPSC Civil Services Examination Simplified. So now in these series of videos, we will try to cater some of the most common problems, common issues, some frequently asked questions about civil services examination. The questions which decide how your UPSC journey moves forward. So once you take a big decision that you are taking up your UPSC CSE examination, that's the biggest decision you make. But after that, there are a lot of other things, which books to read, which optional to choose, what should be your study criteria. Should you be doing first the prelims, or you should be doing a prelim plus mains integrated preparation? So there are a lot of questions, and sometimes you want to know how to make notes, when to start making notes, how to attempt MCQs, how to start answer writing. So these are very common questions which every aspirant wants to know. So in this series we will try to answer some of the frequently asked questions and try to make your civil services examination journey simplified, right? So today we will try to answer this most commonly asked question, how to choose an optional subject. Now optional subject decision is one of the major decision you will take in your UPSC journey, because this paper constitute 500 marks. Paper 1 is 250, paper 2 is 250 marks. Now this decision which optional you are taking up can make or break your chance in clearing this examination. So this has to be done with due diligence. It has to be, certain amount of factors have to be taken in your mind, and then you have to choose this particular optional subject. Because GS is something which is common for everyone, but optional is something where you will take lead in the mains marks. If your optional is good, if you are well versed with the answer writing, it will make a lot of difference. Which rank you are getting, which service you are getting, which cadre you are getting, depends a lot on your optional subject. So take your good time to decide this very important thing, that okay, this will be my optional subject, right? So today I will give you those factors. Considering those factors, you can make a well informed decision. One thing I want to make it clear is, at the end of the day, it is your decision, but I can help you to make that informed decision, so that you don't take decision just seeing your friends, your toppers, right, that okay, they took this particular optional subject, I'll also take this optional subject. So I'll help you decide that which optional you can take up in your UPSC CSE journey, right? Okay. So now, when we are talking about factors which you have to keep in mind, first and foremost factor is your interest. One thing you should remember is that optional subject is something which will remain constant throughout your journey, right? I sincerely hope you clear your exam in the first attempt, but God forbid, say you have to give a second attempt, a third attempt. There are 6 attempts for, say, general category. So this is something which remains static throughout your journey. You have to do it again and again. So the first important step you should consider is that you are genuinely interested in the subject. If you do not like the subject, how do you expect yourself to again and again prepare for the same content, right? Say if I talk about GS, every year something new comes up, new schemes will come. Say you are reading IR, the geopolitics might change, economy you are doing, every year the figures will change, new survey will come, new budget will come. So you still have certain dynamic part in your GS, but here it is static, and it is static for your entire preparation. So it should be based on something you are genuinely interested in. You like that subject. You would not get bored even if you are reading it for 5 times, for 10 times, for 15 times. So now in this case, I usually give an analogy, that think your optional subject choice as similar to the institution of marriage. When a person is trying to decide which person will be his or her spouse, the first step which a person thinks is that, am I interested, or do I like that person? Because once you are married, you have to be with that person for 24/7. You are with that person. You should like that person, you should have certain common interests with that certain purpose, because this is a big decision in the life, right? Say, if marriage is not based on compatibility, on, genuine interest, the separation becomes very painful, right? So if you apply this analogy same to the optional subject is something, if you don't have interest in it, 6 months into the preparation, 8 months into the preparation, or even if you have given one attempt also with the optional subject, and then you decide that this is not my cup of tea, I am not interested, right? I genuinely do not love this particular subject. You have to be in love with your optional subject, I always say that. Now the separation with your optional subject becomes painful. You have given your certain amount of hours, you've given one attempt with that also, now you have to start something from scratch, right? Same happens in the institution of marriage. After divorce, you have to start from scratch, and it is very difficult to start your life again. So similarly, for optional subject, take a well-informed decision, right, and base it on your interest. Don't worry about which topper took which subject. That's the I would say that should not be the parameter of choosing. Something which worked for a topper doesn't mean it will work for you, right? Every person is different. I might like sociology, some other person might not understand sociology. It's totally okay. So ask yourself, rather than asking other people or seeing that, okay, this optional subject is very popular in the market, I will take it. This topper, first ranker, cleared the examination with this, I will also take up this subject. That's a wrong approach. Right? Your optional subject you have to prepare. The topper will not come to teach you. He is not giving paper on your behalf. So first thing which you should remember is that yes, I am interested in this optional subject. I genuinely like that subject. I am genuinely in love with this particular optional subject, that no matter how many times I read it, I find it very interesting. It broadens my horizon. So that should be the first factor which you should keep in mind when you are deciding an optional subject. Now second comes in the graduation subject. Now this is for people who are good with their graduation subject, and it is a part of the UPSC optional list also. Say for example, you have done your graduation in public administration. So I feel if you're good at it, you have already studied for 3 years, so why not choose it? You're not starting something from scratch, you've already done in your graduation, right? You already have you can say you are few steps further from the other aspirants. You have knowledge about that subject. You took sweet 3 years to study that particular subject in your BA. Why not take it, right? It lessens the amount of effort in the examination preparation which you are doing. So if your graduation subject is overlapping, provided you are interested, sometimes you do a graduation and you don't like the subject, it's okay, we are humans after all, you don't like that subject, so then you can change it. But if you are interested and that was your graduation subject also, you should take it. If you are a doctor and you have already done your 5 years of MBBS, medical sciences is one of the optional subject, and if you did good in your college and you are interested, half of your work is done. You have already prepared your optional for the last 5 years. Why do you want to look at something different, right? So this can be another factor when you are deciding your optional subject. Now third comes is GS syllabus overlap. Now this is also important. Certain optional subject you will see, they will have lot of overlap with the GS. Say take for example, I take up sociology at this institution, right? So now if I talk about sociology, it has overlap in GS1 when you are doing your Indian society, GS2 social justice part. Then in your essay paper, a lot of concepts which we learn in sociology can be applied there, and even in GS4, where if a case study comes up or general things, a lot of overlap is there with the ethics part, right? So now what it means is that while you are preparing for sociology, you are also preparing for this GS part. You don't have to separately pick up those books and start learning, right? Say you took up geography as an optional subject, your GS1 geography is done. History, if you are doing, your history part is done. So like the C that you have interest in, say you have interest in 2 optional subjects. Now see what is the GS syllabus overlap. At the end of the day, our aim is that with less effort, more output should be there. So this smartness you can employ while you are choosing your optional subject. Then comes the last thing, sources or coaching availability. That is also very important. Most of the students who are giving civil services examination, they are not from humanities background, right? So they might be from medical background, engineering background, commerce background, and very less percentages actually has done your humanities. Now for these people, you are preparing certain subject from the start, from the scratch, right? You have no idea about that subject, right? So now what you have to keep in mind is, are sources available for this optional subject, right? Say for example, you take up very different optional subject, say there is a language known as Maithili, that's an optional subject, right? Or Pali language is also there, right? Or some literature, regional language literature you take up as optional subject. You should ask yourself that, okay, I am interested, but are there enough resources available? Is there any coaching availability for this particular thing? Because you obviously cannot do it all alone, right? A coaching or a good sources will help you to complete your optional syllabus in 4 to 5 months. Alone if you are doing, it's little difficult to do that, right? So you choose a subject for which sources online. Today there are a lot of resources online, right? Or you have a good teacher who will be able to cover the entire optional syllabus in a very short time. If this criteria is being fulfilled, then you can go, right? But in the end, I would say this is the most important thing. You should be interested in your optional subject. You should be in love with your optional subject. Then only you can expect that I will get 280 to 300 marks in my optional subject, right? So with this, we have completed the video with respect to choice of optional subject. We will be soon coming up with many more videos on frequently asked question about your UPSC journey. Thank you so much.